Picture this: January 20th, 2017, Washington, D.C., dressed in its finest for a presidential inauguration. Except this wasn't your typical inauguration day. The air crackled with an electricity you couldn't ignore, a mix of anticipation and anxiety. The crowd, a sea of red hats and nervous whispers, awaited the arrival of the man of the hour, Donald J. Trump. Now, inaugurations are usually pretty standard affairs, right? Patriotic songs, speeches that go on a bit too long, the peaceful transfer of power. But Trump, he'd already shaken things up just by being on that stage. He wasn't a politician, at least not in the traditional sense. This was the guy from The Apprentice, the businessman with the flamboyant style and even more flamboyant personality. And people were trying to figure out what kind of president this reality TV star would be. Adding to the intrigue, the list of performers for this inauguration was surprisingly thin. See, usually big names flock to perform for a new president, a chance to be a part of history and all that. But with Trump, it was different. Some big names politely declined, others made their disapproval very, very public. This wasn't just about politics anymore, it was personal. You can't talk about Trump's inauguration without talking about the man himself, right? Here was a guy who'd spent years in the public eye, but mostly as an entertainer, a businessman. He wasn't a politician, he didn't speak like one, didn't act like one. And that's what made his rise to power so fascinating, and for some, so terrifying. Trump's campaign was unconventional, to say the least. He used Twitter like a weapon, firing off insults and controversial statements that would have sunk any other candidate. He tapped into a vein of anger and frustration in America, promising to make America great again. And somehow it worked. He defied the polls, he defied the experts, and he won. So, on that cold January day, as he stood at the podium, the weight of the world on his shoulders, you could almost feel the disbelief in the air. This was actually happening. The reality TV star was now the leader of the free world. And the cameras, they weren't just pointed at Trump. They were trained on the faces of those in the crowd, capturing every gasp, every raised eyebrow, every nervous laugh. The thing about Trump was, he was divisive. You either loved him or you really, really didn't. And that division was on full display at his inauguration. You had the die-hard supporters, the ones who truly believed he was the answer to all of America's problems. They cheered every word, every pause, every awkward handshake. Then you had the other side, the ones who were scared, confused, angry. They couldn't believe this was their reality now. They felt like they were living in some alternate universe, a bad reality TV show they couldn't turn off. And then there were the entertainers, actors, musicians, comedians, people who were used to being the center of attention, used to controlling the narrative. Now they were the audience, and they were reacting in real time to the most unpredictable show in town. Their faces, their body language, it became a spectacle all its own, a reflection of the nation's unease and uncertainty. This wasn't just another political event, it was a cultural moment, and everyone, whether they wanted to or not, had a front row seat. Now imagine you're a fly on the wall at this inauguration. Or better yet, imagine you've got a front row seat to the most awkward dinner party in history. Because as Trump took the stage, the real show wasn't just happening on the podium, it was happening in the audience. You see, cameras love a good reaction shot. And at this inauguration, they were working overtime. Every time Trump said something outlandish, every time he fumbled with his notes, every time someone coughed awkwardly in the silence, the cameras would cut to the audience. And boy, were there some reactions. There was the stunned silence, the kind that follows a truly shocking statement. Mouths slightly agape, eyes wide as if to say, did he really just say that? Then there were the nervous giggles, the kind that bubble up when you're not sure if you should laugh or cry. And of course, there were the side eyes. Oh, so many side eyes, each one a masterpiece of silent judgment. You know that look your mom gives you when you've messed up, but you're trying to play it cool? Yeah, that was the look that seemed to be trending at the inauguration. Celebrities, politicians, even former presidents, they were all giving Trump the side eye. And the cameras, bless their cotton socks, they ate it up. Every eye roll, every furrowed brow, every pursed lip. It was all caught on camera and broadcast to the world. It was like watching a live-action meme unfold before your very eyes. The best part? You didn't need a political science degree to understand what those side eyes meant. It was universal language, a silent chorus of, "Oh no, what have we done?" Now, laughter, as they say, is the best medicine. And let's be honest, there were moments during that inauguration where you just had to laugh. Whether it was at the absurdity of it all or at Trump's latest Twitter tirade, sometimes laughter was the only way to cope. And you know what? Sometimes laughter was the right response, because if you didn't laugh, you'd probably cry. It was a defense mechanism, a way to release the tension, to find a glimmer of humor in what felt like a very unfunny situation. Of course, not everyone found it funny. Some people were downright offended by the laughter, seeing it as disrespectful or even unpatriotic. But others, they saw it as a sign of defiance, a way of saying, "We're not going to let this get us down." There were moments during that inauguration where you could almost hear a collective gasp ripple through the crowd. Moments where Trump would say something so outrageous, so unbelievable, that even the most seasoned political observers were left speechless. And in those moments, the cameras would inevitably cut to the audience and capture the looks on people's faces. Looks of disbelief, of confusion, of sheer what in the world is happening bewilderment. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash, except instead of twisted metal and shattered glass, you had contorted facial expressions and bewildered stares. You couldn't tear your eyes away, even though you knew you probably should. Section 5. From subtle shade to open disapproval. When body language speaks volumes. Now, not everyone at the inauguration was comfortable expressing their true feelings openly. After all, this was a formal event, a historic occasion, and there were certain decorum rules to follow. But even the most subtle of gestures, the slightest shift in body language, could speak volumes. A furrowed brow here, a pursed lip there, a pointedly averted gaze. These were the weapons of choice for those who wanted to make their disapproval known without causing a scene. It was a delicate dance between politeness and protest, a subtle rebellion played out in the space between a polite smile and a clenched jaw. And the cameras, like hawks circling their prey, were there to capture every nuanced gesture, every telling glance. Because in the world of celebrity and politics, sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and body language is its own form of commentary. Section 1. Beyond the red carpet. Entertainers as citizens. Now you might be thinking, they're just entertainers, why should we care what they think? And that's a fair point. We don't elect celebrities to office, well, most of the time. They sing, they dance, they make us laugh, but do they really have any insight into the complex world of politics? Here's the thing. Entertainers are citizens too. They vote, they pay taxes, they worry about the state of the world just like the rest of us. And just because they're good at holding a tune or delivering a punchline doesn't mean they're clueless about what's going on in the world. In fact, throughout history, entertainers have often used their platforms to speak out about social and political issues. Think about artists like Nina Simone and John Lennon, who used their music to challenge injustice, or actors like Marlon Brando and Jane Fonda, who risked their careers to fight for what they believed in. Section 2. The Trump Effect. A collision of politics and pop culture. Trump's presidency, whether you loved it or hated it, was a cultural earthquake. It was impossible to ignore, even if you tried to escape into the world of movies and music. Suddenly, politics wasn't just something your parents argued about over dinner. It was the hottest topic at the water cooler, the main event on social media, the awkward guest at every cocktail party. And for entertainers, many of whom had built their careers on carefully crafted public personas and a healthy dose of escapism, this presented a unique challenge. Could they stay silent on political issues when those issues were seeping into every aspect of life? Or did they have a responsibility to use their influence to speak out? This was especially true for those who had publicly opposed Trump during the campaign. They had taken a stand, and now the stakes were even higher. Their every move, every tweet, every facial expression at a public event was being scrutinized for any hint of political commentary. Now, not every celebrity is cut out to be a political activist. Some, understandably, prefer to keep their political views private. But even those who weren't delivering fiery speeches or leading protest marches found ways to express their unease with the Trump administration. Remember those side eyes, those nervous laughs, those looks of utter disbelief we talked about earlier? Those were subtle forms of resistance, a way of saying, I see what's happening here and I'm not okay with it. And in a world where every public appearance is captured on camera and dissected on social media, those subtle gestures spoke volumes. They were a reminder that even in the glamorous world of entertainment, not everyone was buying what Trump was selling. The Trump era brought with it an intense pressure on celebrities to pick a side. Fans, critics, and social media commentators all seem to demand that entertainers use their platforms to voice their political opinions, for better or for worse. This pressure could be both empowering and stifling. On the one hand, it encouraged celebrities to use their influence to raise awareness about important issues. On the other hand, it created a climate of fear, where entertainers worried that expressing their true feelings could alienate fans or even harm their careers. This pressure wasn't always fair. Entertainers, like anyone else, are entitled to their own beliefs, and they shouldn't be forced to become political mouthpieces if they don't feel comfortable doing so. But the reality was that in the age of Trump, silence was often interpreted as complicity, and even those who preferred to stay out of the political fray were drawn into the debate. The reactions of entertainers at Trump's inauguration weren't just about Trump himself. They were a reflection of a deeply divided nation, a country grappling with its identity and its future. The cameras, in their relentless pursuit of a good reaction shot, inadvertently captured the anxiety, the hope, the fear, and the uncertainty that many Americans were feeling at that moment. Those close-ups of celebrities' faces weren't just about celebrity gossip. They were a glimpse into the soul of a nation in flux. And while the cameras may have focused on the famous faces in the crowd, they also revealed a deeper truth. That beneath the glitz and glamour, beneath the red carpets and the designer gowns, celebrities are just as human as the rest of us, grappling with the same anxieties and uncertainties in a rapidly changing world. Okay, picture this. You've seen it all. Presidents come and go. You've shaken hands with kings and queens, witnessed history unfold firsthand. You're a pro at keeping a straight face, even when the world feels like it's going haywire. That's the vibe some of the older, more seasoned celebrities were giving off at Trump's inauguration. Think Clint Eastwood, maybe? Or Meryl Streep. These are people who've seen their fair share of political dramas both on and off screen. Their faces, etched with the wisdom of experience, were a study in stoicism. They weren't necessarily thrilled about Trump, but they weren't panicking either. It was like they were watching a particularly strange episode of a long-running TV show. They knew the drill, observe, process, and maybe share a knowing glance with the person next to you. These veterans of stage and screen, they were a calming presence in a sea of uncertainty. They reminded us that even in the face of the unexpected, sometimes the best response is a deep breath and a steady gaze. Now, comedians, they have a different job description. Their job is to find the funny, even when it seems like the world's lost its sense of humor. But at Trump's inauguration, even the funniest people in the room seemed a little unsure of what to do. Do you crack a joke? Do you play it straight? Do you just shake your head and mutter something about needing more material? It was a tough gig, no doubt about it. Some comedians, bless their hearts, tried to find the humor. They tweeted out witty observations. They whispered jokes to their seatmates. They used laughter as a shield against the absurdity of it all. But even the laughter felt different that day. It was edged with nervousness, a hint of, I'm not sure if I should be laughing at this, but I don't know what else to do. Sometimes the most powerful reactions are the ones we don't expect. A single tear rolling down someone's cheek, a trembling lip, a deep sigh captured by a microphone, these unscripted moments can reveal more than words ever could. There's this image, seared into the minds of many, of a famous musician, someone known for their usually cheerful demeanor, with tears welling up in their eyes during Trump's speech. It wasn't a dramatic breakdown, no sobbing or wailing, just a quiet moment of raw emotion that spoke volumes. That single tear, caught on camera and beamed around the world, became a symbol of the complex mix of feelings that many people were experiencing at that moment: sadness, fear, disappointment, uncertainty. It was a reminder that even in the midst of a highly orchestrated political event, human emotions have a way of breaking through the facade. Behind the music artists grappling with a new reality. For musicians, Trump's inauguration was more than just a political event. It was a sign of the times, a harbinger of potential changes to the cultural landscape. Many artists, particularly those from marginalized communities, felt a sense of dread, a fear that their voices would be silenced, their art deemed irrelevant or even dangerous. The music industry, like many industries, relies on freedom of expression, on the ability to challenge norms and push boundaries. But with Trump's rhetoric often targeting artists and intellectuals, there was a sense that those freedoms were under threat. The faces of musicians at the inauguration reflected this anxiety. Some looked lost in thought, as if trying to process the magnitude of what was happening. Others seemed to be bracing themselves for a fight, their jaws set, their eyes filled with a quiet determination. The ripple effect, when entertainment and politics collide. Trump's inauguration wasn't just about one man taking office. It was a cultural and political earthquake that sent shockwaves through every corner of American society, including the world of entertainment. The reactions of entertainers at the event, captured and amplified by the media, became a talking point, a springboard for discussions about the role of artists in a democracy, the power of celebrity, and the importance of speaking out against injustice. It was a stark reminder that in the age of social media, entertainment and politics are inextricably intertwined. Celebrities, whether they like it or not, have become cultural influencers, their words and actions carrying weight beyond the stage or screen. And while the cameras may have moved on to the next big event, the impact of those reactions lingered, a testament to the power of human expression, even in its most subtle forms. The day after Hangovers, headlines, and hot takes, the sun rose, as it always does, on a new America. Well, not entirely new, but definitely sporting a different hairdo. The inauguration hangover was real, a strange mix of exhaustion and anxiety, and everyone was reaching for their phones, desperate for anything to make sense of it all. Newspapers, still a thing back then, had front pages plastered with photos from the day before. But it wasn't just the official shots of Trump taking the oath. Oh no, it was the reaction shots that stole the show. Headlines screamed, "Celebrities stunned by Trump's speech," "Side-eye heard round the world," and then there was the internet. Oh boy, the internet. Social media was a wildfire of commentary. Everyone had an opinion on who nailed the "I'm so over this" look, Meryl, always Meryl, and who seemed a little too amused by the whole thing, looking at you, Kanye. Pundits on TV were having a field day, dissecting every eyebrow raise and pursed lip like they were ancient hieroglyphics revealing the secrets of the universe. It was exhausting, exhilarating, and utterly absurd all at once. Welcome to the Trump era, folks, where even a yawn could become breaking news. Meme-ifying the moment, when reactions become cultural currency. The internet, bless its meme-loving heart, turned celebrity reactions into pure gold. Screenshots of side-eyes and grimaces became hilarious, shareable content. Memes offered a way to reclaim the narrative and laugh at the absurdity. Clint Eastwood's squinting gaze became the mascot of "I've seen some stuff" energy. Memes became a shared language, a way to make sense of the madness together. The backlash: divided we stand, divided we tweet. Now, not everyone was thrilled with the celebrity reaction fest. Trump supporters, some of whom were still riding the high of victory, were quick to denounce the whole thing as disrespectful, unpatriotic, and frankly, a little dramatic. "Get over it!" they cried from the digital rooftops. "He's your president now!" Some accuse celebrities of being out of touch, of living in a bubble of privilege and having no right to comment on the real struggles of everyday Americans. And let's be real, some of the criticism wasn't entirely off base. The world of celebrity can be incredibly self-absorbed, and there were definitely moments where the focus on reaction shots felt a little excessive, a little too look at me, I'm politically aware. But here's the thing, the backlash itself was telling. It highlighted the deep divisions that already existed in American society, divisions that Trump's campaign had exploited and exacerbated. The inauguration wasn't just a ceremony, it was a cultural flashpoint, and the reactions, both positive and negative, were a reflection of that. The reactions to Trump's inauguration, as meme-worthy as they were, weren't just a fleeting moment of internet fame. They were a sign of something bigger, a shift in the way celebrities were engaging with politics and a growing awareness of the power of their platforms. In the years that followed, we saw a surge in celebrity activism. Actors, musicians, athletes, and even reality TV stars were using their voices to speak out against injustice, to raise awareness about important issues, and to mobilize their fan bases for social change. They were donating to causes, starting foundations, and launching campaigns to address issues like climate change, gun violence, and racial inequality. The side-eye, it seemed, was just the beginning. The Trump era, for all its chaos and division, inadvertently sparked a new wave of civic engagement, a recognition that silence wasn't an option, and that even those in positions of privilege had a responsibility to use their platforms for good. It wasn't always pretty, it wasn't always effective, but it was a start, and sometimes that's all it takes to spark a movement. So, the curtains closed on that strange, surreal day in January. A new act had begun, one that would test the very fabric of American society. But the cameras, they never really stopped rolling, did they? They just pointed themselves in different directions, capturing the ripple effects of that day on the world stage. Trump's presidency, for all its bluster and controversy, highlighted a truth we've always kind of known. Politics and entertainment are forever intertwined. They feed off each other, amplify each other, sometimes even try to outdo each other in sheer spectacle. And what about those reactions? Those side eyes, those knowing glances, those moments of raw emotion caught on camera? They became a part of the story, didn't they? Proof that even in the most scripted of events, human nature finds a way to peek through, to remind us that behind the pomp and circumstance, we're all just trying to make sense of the world around us. The reactions to Trump's inauguration were a reminder that we're not passive observers in this grand drama called life. We react, we respond, we laugh, we cry, we roll our eyes, and sometimes we even find the courage to raise our voices and demand something better. It's easy to dismiss those celebrity reactions as just another form of entertainment, a fleeting moment of viral fame in the internet's endless cycle of content. But something shifted that day, something more profound than a well-timed side-eye. It was the beginning of a new era of engagement, a recognition that silence was no longer an option, especially not for those with a platform. Celebrities, once content to remain apolitical for fear of alienating fans or jeopardizing careers, were stepping into the arena. They were using their influence to raise awareness about social justice issues, to mobilize their fan bases for political action, and to challenge the status quo. The lines between entertainment and activism were blurring, and a new generation of celebrity influencers were emerging, using their platforms to amplify marginalized voices and fight for a more just and equitable world. The legacy of those reactions, then, wasn't just about memes and viral moments. It was about a renewed sense of responsibility, a recognition that even those in positions of privilege have a role to play in shaping a better future. Okay, let's be honest. The Trump era was a wild ride, a roller coaster of emotions with more twists and turns than a season finale of your favorite reality show. It was exhausting, terrifying, and felt like the world was going bonkers. But even in the darkest times, humor found a way to peek through the cracks. Those memes, those jokes, those shared moments of "Are you seeing this?" They were more than just distractions. They were coping mechanisms, a way to process the absurdity and find common ground. Humor became a form of resistance. It allowed us to reclaim a sense of agency and find joy in chaos. Even when the world feels like it's falling apart, laughter can be a powerful antidote to despair. So as we move forward, let's not forget the power of a well-timed side-eye, the shared laughter over a ridiculous meme, the comfort of knowing that even in uncertainty, we can always find ways to connect and cope. Because sometimes laughter is the bravest act of all.